So in last week's video, I made the silver eternity ring, and today I'll be making the silver ring with a center citrine stone. Stay tuned. So we start off in the same way we did with the eternity ring, with a piece of silver square wire 2mm by 2mm. We'll use our ring bending pliers to shape the ring and cut off the excess material. The metal is soft enough for me to use my hands in order to get both ends to meet. Once both ends are together, I solder the seam shut. Once soldered, I use a mandrel to bring out the circular shape. And start to file down the surfaces of the ring. Once filed, I start sanding down so all the surfaces are smooth. This is a 4mm silver collet I will be using on this ring. I'll link the website and the particular collet in the description down below. Next, I'll take my calipers and set them to the halfway width of the collet, and then mark the width on the surface of the ring. I'll cut this out later to add the collet. I'll then add a center line by setting my calipers to 1mm. And then using a center punch, mark a starting point on both lines we marked as the width of the collet. With a center mark made, I set my calipers to 2mm and make the first mark for a stone and then 3mm for the next two. I'll do this for both sides and then press a little deeper into the marks with a center punch. With all the marks made, I take my 1mm drill piece and make a shallow hole, before using a 1mm ball burr to start burring a hole and finishing up with a 2mm ball burr. With all the holes drilled, I use a 1mm cylinder burr to burr the side of the holes and bridge the holes together. Next, I use a flat cutter to create a channel between each stone. I'll then drill a little further into each hole to allow extra space for the bottom of the stone, and then use a 2mm lens burr to create a nice seating for each stone. And then test fit the stones. Once happy with how they fit, I can cut out the section we marked earlier for the collet. Once filed down and fitting nicely, I solder the collet to the ring. I didn't want the collet sticking out too much, so I pressed it about halfway in, which means I need to file and sand down the excess material on the inside of the ring. After seeing the stone needs a little extra space in order to fit, I take a needle file and remove a little bit of material as well as create a seating for the stone. Once I get the stone fitting nicely, I go ahead and file the base of the shank to give a more finished look. Once all the filing and sanding is done, I clean up all the settings with a steel pendant wheel. And then start putting the stones into place using the base of my tweezers to press them in. Once the stones are in place, I use a graining tool to push the metal over, setting the stones into place. With all the cubic zirconia set, I can move on to setting the citrine stone. I'll use my pliers to press the prongs over the stone to hold it in place. Before using a cut burr to round off the ends of the prongs, and then using a burnisher to clean up around the prongs and give a nice finish. With all the stones set, I use a silicone wheel to remove any material that rubbed over the sides, and go ahead and polish the ring, starting with Tripoli and then a final polish with rouge. And this is the finished result. Feeling very happy with how I'm improving, and thank you all for watching and joining me on this journey as I hopefully continue to improve and progress. Anyway, that's all I have for today, so I'll see you next time.